We've put together a short module that will demonstrate the 19 new creatures and the 3 new tile sets that we put in with Shadows of Undrentide. Within the 19 new creatures, 3 of them are only available online through BioWare's live team. For example, these kobolds were released previously only online. They are included in the storyline of Shadows of Undrentide. You can see one of the new spell effects, the series of Big B spells which were very popular amongst the community and have been included with Shadows. As you're probably aware, the Neverwinter Nights community exceeds 1 million people at this point. So when we asked them what they wanted in their expansion, we got some very good information on what to include. For example, this rural winter tile set was one of the top requested tile sets by this community. We're coming up on some other creatures that were requested by the community, gnolls and hobgoblins. You can see them there. Gnolls, probably the second most requested creature by the community, and hobgoblins are sort of like a variation on orcs. The other thing to mention is, with the new spells, we've included 50 new spells in Shadows of Undrentide and 5 new prestige classes. The prestige classes are the Shadow Dancer, which is sort of like a rogue with magical abilities, the Blackguard, sort of this evil anti-paladin, the Arcane Archer, who is an elven or half-elven archer with magical abilities, the Assassin with some devastating death attacks, and the Harper Scout, who's sort of the D&D's version of a spy. So we're going to move into another tile set to show off that one too. This is the Desert tile set, probably the most visually different tile set we've created. In the distance there we've got the Gyno and Andro Sphinx, and off in the corner we have the Formians. Formians are sort of this ant-like creature, desert dwellers, hive society bent on the destruction of pretty much everyone else. We're going to fight our way through this. Actually, the Sphinxes, if in case you didn't know, are helping us because they are good creatures, whereas the Formians certainly are not, and bent on pretty much everything else's destruction. So a bit of the desert tile set with some of the new tiles. Also take note of some of the new placeable objects we have. There's 100 new placeable objects that we've put into Shadows of Undrentide. Everything from rocks to trees to furniture. These are the Asabi Warriors. They are a desert-dwelling lizard race. Some of them have spell abilities, as you've noticed there. And that particular spell, I believe, is Grease. Take a note of the staircase to the left there. Some of the new tiles actually make more use of the up and down things that we do within the Neverwinter Nights. These are the Stingers. Scorpion humanoid race. Very difficult actually in combat to defeat. You'll notice that we have a lot of desert-dwelling creatures that we have created, added to Shadows of Undrentide, because desert is an important part of the storyline, so we wanted to make sure that there were a wide variety of creatures that the player could encounter. Take note of some of the placeable objects, the rocks, the statues, the ladder, things like that, to add to a particular tile set's atmosphere. Moving now into the last tile set, which is actually almost like 2 different tile sets. If you'll take note of the floor, this is kind of the outside version of this particular tile set. We also have an inside version of this tile set. This is Ruins. And this, combined with some placeable objects, you can create completely different areas. We're walking into a room here that contains some of these angry chickens, which are known as cockatrices, and gorgons. Why we picked gorgons and cockatrices is because they have a very particular ability that's been added to Shadows of Undrentide, and that of petrification. Both the cockatrices and the gorgons have the ability to petrify their opponents. We've also included the basilisk, who also shares this ability, and the Medusa. We'll be seeing the basilisk coming up in this particular short module. The other thing that you probably won't get a chance to see in this particular module is grenade-like weapons. These allow lower level characters to use spell-like effects without being able to actually cast spells. things like Caltrops and Alchemist's Fire and things like that, where a lower level character can cast that at their enemies for a variety of effects. In this room, there's the Basilisk. Again, another creature that shares the ability to petrify its opponents. And in the distance, I believe we have some Manticores. Manticores, again, another highly requested creature from the community. Very tough, very deadly with their tail spikes. Now, as part of the storyline within Shadows of Undrentide, we've included a very unusual monster, new creature, which we'll see coming up here. The Wormlings. These are like baby dragons. They don't seem like much until they use their breath weapon. We have a wide variety of Wormlings. You can see red dragons, representative blue dragons, silver dragons. And again, they're quite deadly when they use their breath weapons. They don't seem like much, but they certainly do pack a punch. They certainly do pack a punch. As our mighty character was horribly defeated by them. So much more than flying rats. We're going to hurry on ahead to the next creature that we're going to show off, which I believe, if you'll take note of the ground, actually it's quite different from when we first entered this particular ruin. So this is what I meant by there's sort of two different tile sets within the ruin. There's this particular look and then the initial look that we had. That is a female fire giant. We also have a female frost giant that we've included with Shadows. Again, requested from the community. They wanted female versions of these giants. Looks like your character was horribly defeated again. That's humiliating, but that's the way it is. Doing a lot of damage to us. The story, the campaign runs about 20 plus hours, but that's without including the two very different paths you can take, playing a good guy and playing a bad guy. We've included a lot of bad guy choices so that the game is quite different if you choose to do it as an evil character. Again, the actions that you do within the game will affect how things are. For example, if you steal from a crypt and you're a paladin, you may lose your ability to advance in levels as a paladin because your alignment will have changed from lawful good. There are consequences to your actions, and if you do evil acts, it will affect your alignment. So that's the female frost giant in the distance there. After we defeat this female frost giant, we're going to move on to probably the most requested creature by the million-plus members of our community in the next room here. They were really hankering for a large monster, something terrifying that they could put as sort of the end of their module. Something different from dragons, something different from the creatures that we had at present. So it was a pretty obvious choice when we came up with this particular monster to include in Shadows of Undrentide. And that is the Pit Fiend. Pit Fiend is definitely the Grandmaster of Destruction as far as monsters go. Very, very tough, immense spellcasting abilities, spell-like abilities. Very tough, able to summon in creatures to help it. Spellcasting, all sorts of devastating things. Very tough opponent. So the number one requested creature by the community, the Pit Fiend.
Beautiful.
So that, the 5 new prestige clashes, the 3 new tile sets, 20+ hour campaign, the 19 new creatures, and improved henchman interactivity really make Shadows of Undrentide a very positive add-on to the original Neverwinter Nights.